Okay. So again, I think everyone's more or less settled, but just settling yourself into your meditation. Making sure you're not leaning forward or back. Perhaps stretching up. And relaxing, allowing everything to hang off the spine. And becoming aware of the body breathing. Allowing the body and the breath to be exactly as they are. Noticing any resistance, any bracing in the body. And with each out breath, allowing the body to relax. And whenever you encounter resistance, opening to experiencing it fully. Mentally releasing any will, any intention to defend against the resistance or defend against the disturbance. And leaning back into the seat of self, perhaps asking who notices or what is having this experience. Becoming aware that you're the one who's observing the body breathing. And just riding the waves of the breath, observing the flow all the way through the in-breath, any pause, and all the way through the out-breath. And whatever thoughts are going on, doing our best to leave them in the background. Just let them do their thing and keep the attention on the body breathing if you can. If the attention gets pulled away, that's no problem. When you notice that, just smile and bring the attention back to the body breathing. Knowing that you're the one who's watching. You're not the thoughts, you're not the body, you're not the emotion. I'm not trying to change anything or figure anything out. Any discomfort that's there, just experiencing it, allowing it to do its thing. Not trying to change anything. Not trying to get rid of anything. You don't need to defend against it. You can handle it. You can just let go of the steering wheel. Good. Now allowing the attention to expand to the entire flow of experience, breath and body, sounds, thoughts, emotions, smell, taste, touch. Wherever there's resistance, doing your best to relax, to experience whatever's there, drop the resistance, and lean back into the seat of self. Knowing that whatever's there is not you, you're the one who's experiencing it. You're the one who notices. And now we're going to do a little exercise. So continuing to observe the flow of experience, the entire flow of experience. But imagine that when this meditation is over, you will pop out of existence. Your life will end painlessly and instantly at the end of this meditation. So all you have is this meditation. That's it. So you just have a few minutes left to enjoy life, to enjoy this meditation, or to experience whatever comes up. So all there is this meditation, and then you die. Good, and now going back to the breath, back to the body breathing. Just riding the waves of the breath. Whenever you notice resistance, relaxing the body, releasing any mental resistance, opening fully to it and leaning back into awareness. And now we're going to try a second exercise. So imagine after tonight's class that you're told by a very trustworthy source, perhaps God, that you only have a week to live. And you know in your heart that this is true. You only have a week to live. And then again, you will die instantly and painlessly. You'll simply stop existing in 1 week. So just envisioning how you would want to spend this, your last week. What would you do with this last week? What would you do with your last week, this week? And don't worry about getting your legal affairs in order or business affairs. Imagine that that's taken care of. What would you do with this precious time that you've got left, this 1 week? Good. Now, letting that go, coming back to the body breathing. And at the sound of the bell, we'll bring this meditation to an end. So allowing the eyes to open. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed that. So we're actually going to go right into a breakout group. And in the breakout group, um, you can discuss what happened when all you had left was the 1 week of meditation. And how would you live your last week? So I put that into the chat. So what happened when all you had left was the remaining part of the meditation, and how would you live your last week? So I'm going to do the breakout rooms now. Janet, it's probably going to put your image and your phone in 2 different groups. So we'll see. Maybe just use your phone because you obviously need the audio, and wherever you wind up, wherever your video winds up, I'll go into that room. Okay. So you'll have about 5 minutes. So here we go.
Oh.
Hey.
Okay. So does Janet's audio work now?
No, she's in another room. Her audio's in another room.
Okay.
So
So do I just?
it's just the 2 of us.
Oh, it's the 2 of us. Okay.
Yes, but and she may even be able to hear us, but she's going to
Okay.
she'll just be using her phone to talk to whoever she's in a room with.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So I think you did this meditation once at LG, and so after the meditation, I was thinking about maybe how I felt differently between the 2 experiences, but I think it was sort of the same. So the first part of like what happened when all I had left was just the meditation, and I would die upon opening my eyes. That was immediately met with resistance and fear and like this wanting of more, to do many other things with my life that I hadn't gotten to do. And then there was like maybe a subtle piece of like just feeling piece of like, oh, okay, like I don't have the time to do any of these things, and so it's okay, like I'll just die after this. So it was, I don't know, it was interesting to see like the immediate reaction and then kind of sitting with it a bit and then being maybe a little bit more okay with it.
Right.
And then the second one, how would you live your last week? For me, it was just like, again, the immediate thoughts were, I just want to spend it with my family and friends and tell all my friends who maybe I haven't talked to in a while or haven't expressed like my gratitude and love for them. And it was just like simple things, just like having meals with like my family and just being at home, not needing anything extravagant or anything like that, or just like the simple pleasures, I guess, of life and just spending with the people that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all that came up for that question for me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I tried it myself the other day, well, I mean, no fear came up because I've done this before, but it was just, there was just this real sense of wanting to experience every subtlety of, like, it was just, I just was much more present and interested in whatever was going on. It just felt like, you know, this is all I have left, right? So I really want to, you know, I don't have to I don't have to deal with anything else, so I can just experience this.
Mm.
And with the 1 week, it's kind of the same in the sense that, you know, I thought I want to go see my mom because she's in Ottawa and I haven't seen her in a while. But really, you know, I just want to, like, you know, look at the sky, look at the moon, you know, hang out with my partner and my mom and my sister probably, and just really enjoy every moment. I mean, the biggest thing was just enjoy every moment.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. No, it's always interesting because the question almost makes you realize how important it is to live in the present, I guess. Otherwise, I just feel like my life is passing me and I'm just always like, oh, I have more time in the future to do all of these things, but you never know. So if you want to do something, do it, you know, in the present when
yeah,
you can.
yeah. For me, it's even, it's like you never know, but even if you do know, like
Yeah.
even if you know that you're not going to die for another, you know, 60, 70 years,
Yeah.
still it's better, it's way better to enjoy every moment than to say, oh,
Yeah.
I've got 60 or 70 years, so I don't have to, you know, I'm just going to not pay attention to anything and not care about anything. And, you know,
Yeah.
kind of, like,
That's
anyway,
true.
yeah.
Yeah. The time restriction puts like the urgency on it, but really every day should be like that, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
like making the most of, yeah.
Yeah. Like if you always knew that, you know, you really want to climb Mount Everest and
Yeah.
you're going to climb Mount Everest in a year, you know, you've
Yeah.
made plans. And so now what do you do between now and then? Are you just going to be
Mhm.
focused on that and trying to kill time between now and then? You know?
Yeah. No, exactly. Just,
I'm just going to
yeah.
click the button here to start.
Oh, I think you're on mute.
I pressed
Oh.
the wrong button. I meant to close all the rooms and instead I went to, to the main room myself. Okay. So I guess most of the people are going to come back when the minute's up. Jyoti and I came back kind of by mistake, by my mistake.
What? I missed that.
Oh, you
Oh.
didn't really miss anything. Don't worry. Just I was in a room with Jyoti and I pressed the button by mistake. Okay, so it looks like pretty much everybody's back except for Brian and Jeff, maybe. Um, so yeah, anybody want to share what happened? What happened there? What happened when you know, when either when all that was left was your meditation or how you would live your last week?
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
Um, I I want to spend time with my family. I envision having a picnic with them,
Uh-huh.
and um, and then having a party and inviting everyone I know to this party so I can see them for the last time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
I was like, well, if there's COVID, then we'll just do a video call.
I told Tanya, and she got a good laugh. That the last week, the first thing I do, I take lots of drugs. I take speed to make sure I won't fall asleep. I mean, I don't want to waste. I mean, I may take a nap or something, but I want to whatever maximize the wakeful hours.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You want to experience every moment, right? No sleeping. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi,
I felt. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, that's okay. Please.
Well, Tanya, why don't you go and then Brian will go.
Okay. I was just saying to Shian that I found the concept of expiring at the end of the meditation almost relief, because there's nothing you could do about it anyway, whereas knowing you had a week, similar to me, I would spend time with those I care about, but the idea that at the end of the meditation night, there's nothing I could do about it anyway, I was like, okay, bring it on. Not in a morbid way, but just it was peaceful.
Okay. I didn't hear that very well. I don't know if others heard it, if it was my internet or others. Yeah, okay. Okay, Brian, so sorry, Tanya, your internet seems to be not great, so we're having trouble.
Okay.
Right,
No worries.
Okay. Brian, did you want to share?
Sure. I've done a lot of meditating, and I have to say that I have never felt at peace after a meditation like I did after this one tonight.
And what happened when you actually, what happened during the meditation?
If I was to die at the end of the meditation, I started doing sound meditation to be in the moment as much as possible. And when it came to dying at the end of the breakout session or the end of the meditation, or I'm getting confused here, but the second question, I planned on being with my wife to help her do any planning, and then I started thinking about all the people that I wanted to be with for a short period of time before the end of the week.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Interesting. Okay. So why don't we go into the chapter on contemplating death? So we've kind of got an intro to that. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. Great. So
Laurie, it's almost a little loud. You're distorting it a little bit. I mean, I find the
okay.
Can you go down a little bit?
How's that?
I've had to turn down my volume, so it sounds.
I just turned down my my intro.
Yeah, that distortion seems to be gone.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, so Mickey in chapter 17, Contemplating Death, he talks about how death is a great teacher. And so I wanted to do that meditation so, you know, you could actually try it out a little bit, right? And, you know, one thing that death helps with is, you know, whenever you're having a trouble with something, you know, when you're worried about something, you know, freaking out, have this real sense of urgency, you know, I've got to make this happen, or I can't let this happen. Just think about, you know, how's this going to, 300 years from now, how important is this going to be, right? Or when you're, you know, when you're on your deathbed, how important is this going to be, right? And that just helps to put things in perspective, because rarely do you face a situation where it's really like as important as you think it is. And we all tend to overestimate the impact of something on the rest of our lives, right? Like studies show that people who win the lottery a year later are no happier, right? And people who get into accidents and become, you know, paraplegics a year later, just as happy, right? So we tend to think if this happens, you know, then my life is set, or if this happens, my life is over. No, you know. So anyway, reflecting on how how important it'll be when you're dead is a helpful thing that you can. I use that sometimes. So it just, you know, just reflecting on the impermanence of life. And of course, he in the chapter says regularly reflect on how you live your last week. So you know, I try and do that whenever I remember, because it really helps me to see how you know, it's the little things that really, you know, make life worth living. So like, you know, I remember I was in Plum Village in 2006 in the summer, and we did this. They do a lot of outdoor walking meditation, and it was this gorgeous night. They were having a heat wave, and it was about 9 o'clock, and it had cooled down quite a bit. And so this monk, Tai Fa Bang, he's leading the walking meditation. He says, okay, here's what I want you to practice. Take a step and then you die, right? So you take a step, and that's all there is to your life, is this step, right? And then you die. And then this step, and then you die. And then this step, and then you die. And it's just amazing how it just brought me right into the present moment. I was having these, like I've never had so much joy from a step, you know, in my life. And afterwards I thought to myself, I'm going to imagine that tonight, all I have is tonight, and then I die. How do I want to spend this night, right? And I thought to myself, oh, do I want to call my mom? Do I want to call my dad? Do I want to talk to them one last time? And, you know, and I looked around and I thought, you know, no, I just want to experience this. This night is so beautiful. I just want to experience this night. I just want to experience, and it was still light out. It stays light till like 10:30 at night there in the summer. So there was just this gentle breeze, and I was watching the leaves, you know, blow in the wind, and I just felt so connected to nature and to, you know, the earth and the universe, and it was like, it was just this magical experience. And that really, you know, taught me, like, you know, every moment can be a wonderful moment with nothing special going on. I mean, it was a nice night, but, you know, I can watch leaves blowing in the wind anytime, you know, lots of times. But when I'm really there for it, when I'm really not thinking about the future, not thinking about the past, and just you know, entirely present, then life is magical. And a lot of you have probably heard the other one I've talked about, like, you know, I was on this bike ride in Ottawa. I lived in Ottawa for a while, and I was biking home from Sangha. So it was night, it was dark, it was raining, and it was windy, and I was biking against the wind and had maybe a half an hour, 40-minute bike ride, and I was kind of miserable. And then I thought to myself, I'm just going to pretend that all I have is this bike ride. When I get home, my life is over. All I have is this bike ride. And again, it was the most magical bike ride. I mean, you know, I just was experiencing the feeling of the rain on my face. I was experiencing the effort of, you know, of my body cycling against the wind. I was feeling, you know, just the, you know, the sensations of my body, smelling the freshness of the rain, and it was just, it transformed this unpleasant experience into this wonderful experience. Just this act of really being present, and it's that contemplation of death, and, you know, that feeling, I mean, it's not exactly a contemplation of death, because I'm not thinking about my death. I'm thinking about all I have is this, right? There's nothing else. So, what do you, this idea of like life is precious, and we forget that. We forget that every moment can be precious. And, why are we failing to treat every moment as precious? I mean, for me, it's just partly because we forget, and partly because of the voice in our head, right? Because it's not really that comfortable, so we're busy trying to distract ourselves. And the voice in our head is talking, and it's pulling us out of the present moment. I find I'm thinking about the next thing I'm doing. I'm meditating, but I'm thinking about like some project, or I'm thinking about what I'm going to do after the meditation. So those samskaras kind of make it more difficult to be in the present moment, because they're distracting us, right? Because they don't like the present moment, because the present moment's not comfortable, right? So, Mickey, people often say, I don't know what the meaning of life is. I don't feel like I have a purpose in life, and, there's all sorts of books about finding your purpose. But my experience is that, my purpose is just to, if I'm really enjoying, if I'm really there in the moment, then there's meaning in that moment, right? And Mickey talks about, he says, the only thing there is to get from life is the growth that comes from experiencing it. Life itself is your career, right? So it's this idea that, when those samskaras are causing us to feel a sense of lack, then we're like, I need a purpose. But then we think of it in terms of an external purpose, right? But when we're feeling like, when we're connected to the present moment, when we're really experiencing the present moment, there's no sense, there's no lack of meaning. It's like, I don't know, have anybody, like when you're really there in the moment, right? There's meaning to it, right? We look at the ocean, or, a child's face, or the leaves blowing in the wind, and and we say, oh, it was like it was a spiritual experience. And it's like, it was a spiritual experience, and in that experience there is meaning, right? Life feels meaningful in those moments, right? So we really just have to remember that, and clear out our samskaras, which will help us remember it a lot more, right? We won't have so much the voice in our head. And I love Mickey's line, it's now in my signature. It is your attempt to get special experiences from life that makes you miss the actual experience of life, right? So, oh, this weekend I'm doing this, that, and the other. There's this, I'm in a party this weekend, so, this is my focus, and between now and then, it's just about the party, and I'm really not, like, I just want it to be then, right? I'm just killing the time between now and then. And, we often, the special experience, we're so focused on having a special experience, we forget about the present moment, right? And the fact that every moment can be, uh, uh, meaningful, can be joyful, can be magical, right? If we're just really there for it. So death can help to teach us that when you have very limited time, it's precious, not just because it's scarce, but because there's something valuable in every moment. At least it has a potential. Every moment has the potential to be a deep experience, right? Um, so that's my take on contemplating death. I wonder if anyone wants to share anyone has any questions or any thoughts on that. And Janet, I noticed your phone is muted. I don't know if you know how to unmute. Yeah, okay. Beverly, yeah.
It's not so much on death, but since you were talking about purpose, there's one thing that's really crucial for me. In my original training, it was really about gratitude and having a sense of service. And Mickey uses a phrase in his talks. He used it recently to serve the moment and to serve the universe in the moment. And I connect that back to the conversation in the book about building a house. So my original training was fairly Christian, and one of the real central things was something like, unless the Lord build the house, he labors in vain who builds it. And we really made the distinction between that construction from the outer self versus, really, it's like surrendering the mind, the heart, and the body, the physical being, seeing the perfection. So for me, the sense of service is to be available to the universe, really. And I liken that to the process that we're practicing of leaning back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Appreciation, gratitude. I mean, that's a big part of it. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next chapter unless anyone has anything. Okay. So chapter 18, The Secret of the Middle Way. So it's interesting where Mickey goes. He brings in the Tao. So I don't know if folks have, read the Tao Te Ching or studied any Taoist thoughts or anything, but it's this very mysterious. The Tao is very, is this very mysterious thing. It's sort of like the universe, but it's also sort of this the subtle perfection of the universe or something like that. I've always thought of it. But he talks about how, if you can imagine a pendulum swinging, and when it's up here or up there, there's a lot of force to bring it back to center, but then it keeps, it'll keep going to the other side. And so, if we've starved ourselves for a couple of days, or if we just have, if we haven't had food, if we've been denied food for a couple of days, then when we get food, we're so hungry, we just, eat it up so quickly. Or, if we've been lonely for a long time, then, we meet someone and we cling to them, right? And so it's this idea that the pendulum swings and there's a lot of force bringing it back down when it gets out to an extreme. And the Tao is where the pendulum is just hanging there, that there's no force trying to move it at all. It's just where life is in balance, right? There's not too much and there's not too little. And, so and then he asks the question, well, how do you stop the pendulum from swinging, right? How do you stay in the Tao, if you will, right? And he says the main thing is that when the energy goes to pull you away from the center, you release it, right? So it's like, a disturbance happens and we notice our attention being drawn to it and we let go, right? So like, I might be riding down the street and a car passes me like really close and fear comes up. This happens to me pretty regularly, or used to when I used to bike to work every day. And fear comes up And then, you know, I can sort of, you know, let it go, be with the fear, because my natural, you know, what used to always happen was then I get angry, right? I get angry that they did that, and then I'd want to go after them and tell them not to do that. But of course, I would be angry, so you know, it was never a very useful thing to do because I would just express my anger to them if I could get them. And but in the Tao, the idea is the fear comes up. You know, the car passes me, the fear comes up, and then I let it go and back to the middle, right? And then once I've experienced the fear and just allowed it to pass and not gone there in terms of, you know, going into all the thoughts and the anger and the whatever, then I'm centered. And then maybe I do go up to the car and say, you know, that was, you really scared me, like you could have killed me. Please don't do that, you know, but in a way that's like I'm talking now, not like, you know, how dare you, you stupid, you know, whatever. So, so that's the idea when he says, like, when you feel the energy being pulled to one side, let go and come back to the center, right? And the idea, he says, is you want to have your goal be to stay in balance, to stay in the center, right? Because our wants and our don't wants pull us over here, right? So, you know, that can happen. And what I want is I want to make sure that that car never does that again, right? But if I let that be my focus, it takes me to not a great place, right? If my focus is just the balance, coming back to balance, then that's a very, so, you know, and often what I find is it's a choice between, do I let go of what I want or what I don't want, or do I try and stay in balance? So he's saying, you know, in the Tao, there's no preferences. There's just, our only interest is the balance, right? So we let go of the wants. We let go of the don't wants. Balance is the focus, right? And it's not, it's just kind of a different way of talking about what we've been talking about all along, which is the idea of just letting go of, sorry, I'm just gonna, just letting go of you know, whatever disturbance comes up. So it's really no different. It's I think it's more, it's kind of, it's can you hear me? It says my connection's unstable. Yeah. Uh, it seems to me to be kind of cooler when it's the Tao we're talking about and not just some disturbance. It's like, yeah, man, I'm you know, I'm staying in the Tao. But it's a really interesting way to think of it, and maybe that helps to navigate, you know, and not to get pulled, not to let the pendulum get pulled out here, pulled out there, but to just stay in this kind of dynamic balance as we go through life. And I really like what he says at the end of the chapter. He says, you're never going to wake up, see what to do, and go do it. He says, you are blind. You never see where the Tao is going. You can only be there with it, feel for the edges, and don't go to the edges. So, you know, it's always present moment focused, right? It's not like if I'm really in touch with the Tao, it's going to tell me what's going to happen. No, it's not going to tell me what's going to happen. It's just going to tell me what is happening now, right? All I can do, I can't say I want to go over there, right? So it's this real idea of surrender, because you don't know where you're going. You just know that you're in balance, right? So there's this real letting go of the steering wheel to stay with the Tao, right? And he says you just feel for the edges. So the edges is when the disturbance is pulling you, right? It's when the pendulum is getting pulled out. So you just feel for the edges and don't go there. Don't go to the edges. Stay in the Tao. And don't worry where it's going. Just stay in the Tao, right? So yeah, cool shit, man. Anyone have any comments or questions or anything?
I have a comment. I really like the visual of the pendulum because that I find that really helpful for me to understand. Like, oh, okay, um, um, where the extremes are. And actually, this week I did find some thoughts that were like, I'm like, there's something happened and I really didn't like it, and these thoughts came out. I'm like, whoa, that's so dramatic. um, so it's cool to see like oh engage in those thoughts and just like come back to center. So I found the pendulum to be a very useful visual when seeing myself with these like dramatic thoughts.
Yeah. And did it help you to let go of them?
Yeah, because then I could see that, oh, it's extreme. So coming back to center means to let go.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to have another breakout around this idea of balance. So I'll just copy this into the chat. So what's an area of your life that could use more balance? And where do you experience extremes? So it might be food, relationships, work, sex, money, doing, not doing, any area of your life. So what's an area you could use more balance, and where do you experience extremes in that area, and what would balance look like? So just, is that clear? And it's in the chat if you want to. Yeah? Sorry, Pip, are you, okay. Okay, so we'll go into breakout rooms again, and again, I'll go wherever Janet's image winds up. Okay, so I'm gonna recreate the room so it'll be a different person this time, probably. And here we go, and we'll have again about 5 minutes.
There we go.
Hey, Tanya.
Okay, so it's us and not Janet, is that right?
That's
Or
right,
no?
Janet, we're just getting her video, but her audio's in the other room, so she's participating in the other room. Yeah.
Okay. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to say because it seems to be wherever my mind takes me is where I go off balance. Like right now, it's definitely with work. If it wasn't work, it might be like when my cat had an illness, it was that. When I had an illness, it was that. So it seems to depend on whatever, is what I perceive to be a pressing situation at the time.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Yeah. And to be balanced would be, well, just like we were talking about, to catch myself before I get into the pendulum and come back to center. So I like that where you said, like that feeling the edges and then not going there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm still, like I'm excited for being able to still experience the feelings and the thoughts and the disturbances, but be okay with it.
Yeah. I think for me, like, probably one area where I don't have balance, well, I don't know, but I you know, especially in this COVID thing, I tend to be pretty much a homebody.
Mm-hmm.
And now with COVID, I'm just a super homebody. I mean, I'm just, you know, and I'm not sure because I don't really feel like I have a big, I don't, you know, I don't have this big sense of wanting to like, uh, you know, be in a room full of people or, um, it's, so I'm trying to figure out like, so it's like the not doing. I'm very good at not doing. And I wonder if there's an imbalance there between doing it, not doing it. You know,
Yeah.
I left my job because I wanted more space, and now I've got a fair bit of space. And then after this course is over, I'll have even more space. And then I'm like, do I want too much space? Am I too focused on having no responsibilities?
Yeah, I get that.
um,
And when you like space, do you mean like spaciousness or do you mean space in time of your day or space in commitments or all of it or none of it?
space as in like not having to rush,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, not having to, you know, being able to be kind of, you know, whatever comes up in the moment that I can just focus on that. And I don't have a bunch of a big long to-do list or, you know, I don't have a bunch of, you know, and yet my desire to be free of obligations kind of, you know, maybe too much, right?
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
you know, I tell myself, well, you know, it's all about the inner, but, you know, I don't really want to be just like doing absolutely nothing with my life.
Yeah, we're still in the world, right? Yeah.
So I'm still trying to find that balance.
But yeah, but obviously your awareness of it is huge. But yeah, I've noticed too the last several years, which is one reason for the job change. Like I've been working part-time, but even that just feels so busy. So I think while I'll be moving to full time and it'll be full on during the day, I won't have 80 kids to feel responsible for, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's about space.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, I think it's a really neat concept to practice. I just this idea of finding that dynamic balance, you know, in every moment. As well as the macro, like, you know, am I spending too much time with my partner? Not enough time with my partner. Too much time
Yeah.
working, not enough time working. I mean, on the other hand, you don't want to be like constantly second guessing
No, that's
everything.
not.
It's all a balance, right?
I know. And I remember when I was younger thinking, I just want to achieve a state of balance. Like it's something once you're there, it's so naive.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely not. I like it, you know, is a metaphor of sailing. Of course, I used to sail, so.
Oh, nice.
Hi.
Hey everyone, welcome back.
Hi, Philippa. Sorry, we're a bit abrupt ending, Philippa, but we will meet again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So why don't we do a bit of a stretch? So we're just past 8 o'clock. So, you know, just for a minute or two, just, you know, do whatever your body wants. You can shake it, you can stretch it, twist it, massage it. Mm. Oh, it is one beautiful night. Hmm. Okay, it looks like everybody's back except Brian. He maybe went to the washroom or something. So why don't we just spend maybe 5 minutes? I'm just wondering if anyone had any questions or any reports, anything you want to share about the homework, and about either learning to let go, just continuing practicing learning to let go, or keeping the heart open, or any problem and seeing it as no problem. Anyone have any questions or difficulties, wonderful experiences, insights? Anybody who did? Oh, it says my internet connection's unstable. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Laurie. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
I don't know if you can hear me, Laurie.
Laurie's
Now I can.
Oh, there we go.
Now I can. Yeah. Sorry.
You can. Okay. Hope everyone else can hear me as well. I had a good experience with the instruction of not view it as a problem and view it as a challenge, as an opportunity for spiritual growth. So again, it's in work. I'm recording this kind of video cast, so it requires talking to a slide, reading on the slide, and you're reading speaker's notes. Was quite technical, and the script is like this size on the screen, and it takes quite a few takes. And this is a deadline, and my voice. I'm not a voice actor, so all this stuff was going on. And then I think I read that a little bit in the book on my break. I said, that's great. I'm going to go back and just treat this as an opportunity. And my body language changed. I became like some sort of actress, and I just really got into it. And I was like, now let's look at design activities. And at this stage, we have to get X, Y, and Z. So I really like loosened up and became like this actress, and it was fun. And it was really good, opposed to the other way I was about it, where I was like, I hate this. Very good.
Nice. Thanks, Pip. Anyone else have anything to share? Okay.
I noticed in the last week, that my mind is pretty much always either organizing, planning, or trying to make a decision. In your meditation, you say that, and the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, but that's what it's always doing, and it's all kind of, I guess it's all future oriented in a way. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to remind that, there's a big difference between intentional and unintentional thinking, right?
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, now is the time I want to sit down and plan this. Now's the time I want to sit down and review what happened. It's the voice in your head that comes
it's the
up.
Autopilot.
Yeah. That's the part that that lets us know that, like, that tries to distract us, right? And that's the part that you want to just let go and not let it take you there, if you can stop it. Yeah. And not stop the thoughts, of course, but just, don't let it pull your attention over there. notice that this is just a thought and I'm the one who's watching it, and I don't need to believe it, and I don't need to solve this problem right now, right? Just because the voice in my head wants me to solve this problem right now doesn't mean I have to do it. So, great. Thanks, Andre. Okay.
I could say something about, I think, I'm not even positive this is part of our homework, but definitely something we talked about last week was I think it was in the homework, to make the intention to be happy, and that we always have a choice. And that's something that that I've believed for a number of years, but it's amazing how much it slips. And on the weekend, I had to get up one day, Sunday, which is usually my only day that I don't have to, get up at a certain time early, because somebody invited me to something, and somehow in my dreams, even I had this whole crazy dream blaming this person, and then I woke up and I was angry, and I realized, whoa, this is a moment to shut this craziness down. I mean, accept it, but to choose to be happy. And like this thing that I accepted an invitation to, and instead of focusing on getting up early, when I think about the benefit of getting up early, the thing that getting up to do, a nice bike ride, and yeah, the whole morning changed for me, and it was really, really helpful. Yeah.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, because it's just our mind telling us that we shouldn't be happy in this situation, right? And we don't have to listen to it. Doesn't mean we can't force ourselves to be happy, but we can definitely tell our mind that's telling us that we can't be happy to, I'm not listening to you. Okay.
The thing is, I think of how many times in the past I would have repeated that very same scenario,
Mm-hmm.
up and been angry that I at somebody, or that I had to, because waking up is an angry time for me. I usually don't want to do it. And so how many times that's happened where I haven't pulled myself out of it, right? And then just like the pendulum keeps on trucking. So yeah, so it was nice that I guess because of this course, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Pattern was broken this time.
Well, I know when I and one practice that I do, it's not part of Mickey's teachings, but Ty's teachings, is when I wake up in the morning, I say that there's a waking up gatha, or waking up like a mindfulness verse, right? So when I get up in the morning, I say, waking up this morning, I smile, 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live this day deeply and wholeheartedly, and look on all beings with eyes of love and compassion. But you could pick anything, right? You could use death, right? Oh, I could die today. Let me enjoy the day. I can die tomorrow. Let me enjoy this day. Or, do I want to? Anyway, if you're having trouble with waking up in the morning, I find that doing some sort of waking up gatha can be really, or verse can be really, really helpful. When you open your eyes in the morning, ask yourself, like, or tell yourself, I have these hours, how do I want to spend them? And the odd time it'll be like, I want to roll over and go back to sleep. But I find myself rarely doing that unless I'm actually like missing sleep, unless I actually need to catch up my sleep. Anyway, that's getting too content specific for this course. Okay. Should we move on to the loving eyes of God? Right. So the last chapter of the book. You know, he starts off by saying that there's a part of you beyond the personal self, and you can choose to identify with the personal self, you know, with the mind and the emotions and the body, or you can choose to identify with what is beyond the personal self, which is, you know, the awareness, right, the consciousness, the you know, the sense of the subject, basically. And you know, which is connected, you know, presumably to the cosmic consciousness. But you don't even have to worry about the cosmic consciousness or God or whatever. It's just there's you, the one who's aware of everything, right? And this is a practice, right? Identifying with that, and in particular, not even identifying with that as much as not identifying with the thoughts, not identifying with the emotions, not identifying with the body, right? You can consciously, whenever, you know, throughout your day, you know, ask who notices, you know, or whatever you want to do to become aware of the subject, right? Aware of the awareness, and identify with that. And when you do that, you'll find it much easier to go into the seat of awareness, and much easier to let go of the thoughts and the emotions, right? If you actually have this aspiration to identify, you know, this practice of identifying with the awareness. And a couple of people have said to me in the consultations, well, you know, if I let go of that, these thoughts, if I let go of these preferences, these likes and dislikes, I'm afraid I'm not going to be me. I'm afraid I'm going to lose myself, right? And you know, my answer to that is, you're only going to lose your reactivity, right? You're still going to be you, right? Whatever your favorite food is still going to be your favorite food, right? The people you love are still going to be the people you love. You know, if you like nature, you're still going to like nature, you know? If you don't like snakes, you're still not going to like snakes. Like your personality is still going to be there, but you're going to be more the person you want to be, because you'll be freeing yourself from the desires, you know, the fears, and more in your higher self, right? The love, the kindness, the joy, the enthusiasm, right? So, but that said, it is like the lower self holds on tight, right? And there's this feeling that your survival is threatened, your very survival, because it's your identity that is threatened, right? Because you identify with, and you know, and everybody does this, right? And this is like this is right, this is the deep end of the pool, the really deep end of the pool, right? They you know, like when Jesus said, you must die to be reborn, this is what he was talking about, right? Mickey often talks about, you know, what Jesus said in the context of Jesus was an enlightened being, and what he's saying is the same thing I'm teaching, right? And I'm Jewish, I'm not an expert on what Jesus said, but and Mickey's Jewish too, actually, but he, you know, he talks at length, and I've been there at Christmas several times, and on Christmas Day he gives a talk all about what Jesus said and how that's you know, it's the words of an enlightened being. And so this idea of you must die to be reborn, it's like it's really hard to you know, we identify with these with our lower self, we identify with our with our likes and dislikes and preferences, and which are our samskaras. So that's why it's so important not to identify with them, right? And not just in the moment when they're coming up and you're trying to release the resistance, but just generally to have a willingness to let go of these things that you've held dear for however long, in terms of this is me, right? To say, well, I don't like that, and well, maybe you could let that go, right? So and as you let go of the lower self, you he says you naturally go higher. And when he says go higher, like he's talking about it in terms of energy, but practically speaking, it means as you go higher, there's more joy, there's more enthusiasm, there's more love, right? As opposed to lower is like more desire, more fear, right? So the survival instinct is kind of the lower self. Need for social status, safety. I mean, these are all more the lower self. Sex. And as you go, as you let go more and more, and you experience more and more of the higher self, the lower self will be less of a pull. And when I guess another Plum Village story, I guess. I was there one time, and I'd been there a while, and my body was almost free of tension. Like I felt so relaxed, and just this sense of peace, and just feeling, very very comfortable, very content, and just relaxed, like just really bodily relaxed. And I looked over, and there was this guy who I was really attracted to. And I could feel my whole body like contract towards him. And I was amazed. I was surprised, because I had always thought of that looking at an attractive guy is a pleasant experience. And yet it was unpleasant, right? It was, this feeling in my body was unpleasant. It took me out of this very nice place into a state of tension. And I was like, whoa, that is like my world is turned upside down here, right? Like, because how could that be? And I think it's because, I was in this really good place. And so, when you're not feeling okay, when you're feeling that sense of lack, then anything that distracts you from it, seems like something you want, right? But then when you're in a better place, it's not so good, right? And the other thing is that, I often have a choice, right? Like I had a choice in that moment. I could have stayed there and do what I usually do, which is, oh, let me go talk to him so I can look at him some more. And I really like being in this company, and and that would have just watered these seeds of attraction. It would have just made me even more tense. But there's a part of my mind that says, no, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, right? Very strong part, right? Or I could say, you know what? I'm going to go walk in the other direction, because I want to go back to that state of relaxation, of peace, of contentment, And I mean, that attraction, that pull is strong, but it's not where I want to go, right? So when I'm in, and so the big thing, like this is, in line with what Mickey's saying. He's saying as you go higher and higher, you'll just float up, because the stuff down there no longer holds such sway with you, right? But part of it also is just like being able to see this, right? Because I had to make a conscious decision to walk in the other direction, you know, despite the knowledge that it was an unpleasant experience. There was still a big part of me that was like, I want more of that, right? Because, you know, so anyway, and he says you don't have to reach for spirit, reach for the higher self. Just let go, keep letting go of the lower stuff, you know, and you can tell what's the higher stuff and what's the lower stuff generally, right? You know, there may be some gray areas, but for the most part, it's pretty simple. And so, you know, just making that choice to go with the higher self and let go of what the lower self wants. Yeah, he says you'll just drift out. And this is the untethered soul, right? This is the idea that letting go of the lower stuff is cutting the tethers, and then you just naturally, the tethers of the hot air balloon, and then naturally you just go up. So again, these can be hard choices to make. And then he says, and it's interesting, he says, all the great masters say the same thing. You can know God experientially. God is love, right? Eventually the individual consciousness will merge with the collective consciousness, the universal consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it. But he doesn't speak from personal experience. This is like the only place in the book where he doesn't speak from personal experience. He says, the great masters say, right? I found that very interesting. And very honest, right? Like, you know. And he's saying that he says that all the time. Like when you're there, I mean, he has pictures he has a picture of Jesus, he has a picture of various Indian masters. And, you know, he says like, they are the masters. Like, I'm not the master. They are like merged, you know, they're like the drop that's fallen into the ocean. So, and he says, once you go up there, you'll see God is love, God is ecstasy, right? That God, and this is what all the great masters say. And if you know, I've read like poetry from, you know, Rumi and you know, Meister Eckhart and Saint Francis of Assisi and Hafiz and other, you know, they all say the same thing basically, right? Which is that God is just this, you know, always in ecstasy, right? And I remember one of the poems that talks about, you know, at some point when you know God, then all the toys that you've been playing with, you'll put aside. They won't interest you anymore, right? So, and he kind of ends by saying, you know, ecstasy is the only thing God knows, and no matter what you do, you can't ruin it for God. You know, you can't basically make God mad at you. So, I mean, for whatever that's worth, right? If you've ever been worried that you're gonna not be in, you know, on God's good side, he's saying you don't have to worry about that. The sun is always shining, and no matter how long you've been in the darkness, when you go outside, the sun will shine on you. It's not going to withhold its sunshine. So that's it for that book. Anyone have anything they want to share about this?
Hi.
Hey, Sheena.
I do have some reaction about the higher and lower self. I guess incidentally, I've been contemplating or reflecting on that. I mean, recently, although I myself use different terminology, but I guess it's analogous. The terminology I use would be my conscious life, my conscious self, if you will, and my biological. I mean, I say biological because it's not just a body and mind, body / mind, it's body and mind, meaning biological, my body and my brain. So it's my, and my own identity, my own psyche, I would call that my biological self. but my reaction is this. I'm not too sure my conscious self should be so single-mindedly in being more conscious or being higher as to leave my biological self behind. It is almost like, I mean, when you're in a relationship and one day you break the news, sorry, partner, we have outgrown, or I have outgrown this relationship, I'm moving on, and best luck, good luck to you. It's almost a little bit like that scenario. So I was almost thinking that even if I am becoming more conscious, I would have to relent. I mean, at times. I mean, if my biological self is asking me to please not go, then I have a choice. Yeah, maybe I should slow down. Maybe I should not just walk out of that relationship.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand. Like I mean, it's about releasing your samskaras, right? So I don't think the samskaras equals the biological self. So I'm just unclear, like how, when you say let go of the biological self, what are you?
I know samskara, we talk about it a lot. And I guess that maybe, I mean, sort of, I mean, maybe a little bit of disagreement here that, and then I guess one way of sort of rephrasing what I said was that maybe I should not get rid of all my samskara all at once. Maybe I'm meant to be linger. I mean, sort of, I mean, work with the samskara a bit more, a bit longer, and not just getting rid of it. I mean, maybe my samskara is just to do that. I mean, not all of that, hopefully. I mean, it's still the conscious part, and it's not just to get rid of samskara.
I guess it's up to you. I know for me, I mean, I'm quite clear. I want my samskaras out. Because I see the suffering that they cause in me. And you know, I think quite often it's really, you know, there's parts of me. I mean, I remember having a conversation with a Dharma teacher one time where I was talking about how I was, what's the word? No, now I can't think of the word. Anyway, I was, you know, not, it's not disrespectful, but it's, anyway, that, you know, this particular trait of mine, I guess, of being like, you know, just because it's a rule, I'm not going to, you know, just because somebody has a title or whatever, it doesn't mean I need to respect them or defer to them. And oh God, what was the word? Anyway, and I didn't want to let that go, right? It was something that, you know, generally is assumed to be a negative trait, and I didn't want to let it go. I'm like, no, this is me, right? But you know, looking back on it, I see like irreverent. That's the word. God, I'm old. Anyway, irreverent.
Laura, try having no sacred cow. How about that?
What? No sacred cow, yeah. So I was like, I like being irreverent. And she was like, no, it's a bad thing to be irreverent. And I'm like, no. This is like, I identify as being irreverent. I didn't say it in that language, right? But it's really hard to let go of a lot of this stuff. So, you know, but at the end of the day, this practice is about letting go of what you want to let go of, and not, you don't need to let, like, you know, but you know, whatever, like it's your life, right? And you can, you know, but I don't see it as betraying my biology, or, you know, or in any way hurting the body or hurting the mind. But, you know, I think that's, I think it would be interesting to understand better what exactly it is that you don't want to let go of, because I'm not quite clear on it. I don't know if anyone else has any comments they want to, like, any, or Shu Yan, if you know, what you think of that.
You could always kind of like ask yourself what, like, if I didn't have this samskara that I kind of want to keep for, you know, whatever reason, if I didn't have that, what would I be like? What might that look like? You know, just like as an experiment, you know, and then you can go back to it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and Mickey's always saying, like, you got to give the dog a bone, right? So, you know, it doesn't mean, it's certainly not about denying the body in any way. And sometimes, and, you know, and it's true. I mean, you don't want to be completely inflexible, and you certainly don't want to go beyond your capacity. You know, if you're, you know, if you're just like, you know, it's very easy for the pendulum to go like, I have to get rid of all my samskaras. I have to get rid of them now. I'm going to just be super, you know, hyper vigilant, and da 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 da, and they've got to all be gone now, now, now. So, I mean, obviously that's itself a some like that. You're not in balance there. Like you're now in reaction. But like, I'm not sure if your concern is just like being too obsessive about getting rid of the samskaras, or too inflexible. I don't know, but for me, like what I hear Mickey saying is start with the small stuff, start releasing them, learn how to release them. And as you release more and more, you'll be more and more open to release the deeper ones. You'll be more and more um, and this is when he's talking about, you know, floating higher. That's what he means. It's not, you know, it's not a put down to say that our biological urges are you know, wrong or anything like that. Like, he's not saying don't have sex, right? But he's saying don't let your life be driven by your sexual desire, right? Don't let it cause you suffering. So yeah.
Uh, but I really enjoyed that. I don't want to take up too much time, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I think on that last point, I think I was actually saying, I mean, although I didn't quite say that, but what I meant is, yeah, maybe we need to suffer a little bit. Maybe that is meant to be, even sorrow, even suffering. And
Yeah.
if that is what samskara does, maybe accept that, play along.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in fact, releasing the samskaras requires suffering, right? You know, it's like ripping off that band of thorns, right? It you know, you have to go through the pain, you have to go through the suffering. Like, he's not saying no suffering, but he's, you know, personally, uh, I I want to suffer less. I want to be happy all the, you know, this idea of eternal conscious ecstasy sounds pretty good to me. And even just more of it, even if it's not all the time, if it's just more of it, sign me up. But I think this is a really good conversation, Shuyan, because I don't want to be just like like there, our mind puts up a lot of um, obstacles to releasing our samskaras, right? And 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 you know and maybe I've drunk the Kool-Aid, and I don't want to be, I don't want everyone to drink the Kool-Aid. I want everyone to, like, I want you to see what works for you, right?
Definitely. Where were you when I was looking for you and trying to appeal to your authority because of your Christian background? Beth, didn't Jesus somewhere say that he is a son of sorrow or something along that line?
I don't know.
I guess Beth was not listening. But that's fine. I would text her some other time.
Okay, anyway, we better move on because we are quickly running out of time. And I just wanted to, so thank you, Shian. I very much appreciate, raising that issue, and expressing your, where, your concerns. And I'm happy to talk whenever. And I wanted to say, like, so so now I'd really like to talk about, like, what's next, like, so I'm just going to look at my notes here. Where do you want to go from here, right? And if you want to continue practicing this, like, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay supported in this? So I want to do a very brief writing exercise. And I'll just copy this into the chat. Just to say, what differences have you noticed from this practice, if any, in your, in your life, just in your little experiences? What practices have been most helpful? What words of encouragement have been helpful from me, from Mickey, from anyone? What obstacles have you faced, and how can you overcome them? So just to help kind of help see where you want to go from here. So we'll just take 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, just another minute. Okay, so you can certainly continue writing after this. And yeah, so I just wanted to, to talk about how we can support each other, and in terms of continuing from here. So I'm certainly happy to. I'm gonna. I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm gonna have either as part of Luminous Ground, like on the Wednesday nights, or else on another night. Still need to figure that out. So once or twice a month, just have sessions where you can share about this practice or ask questions, or we'll just figure that out. I'm going to have a feedback form that I'll send you the link later tonight or tomorrow morning. And so one thing I want to ask is, like, how often, if you would be interested in that, and how, if you'd prefer once a month or twice a month. And the other thing is, I haven't shared emails, but if you're interested in, I was thinking to, to have a forum where people could share, and also maybe to do like a, some sort of peer-to-peer or second body practice. So that's where, I would partner you up with somebody else from this class, and then you could get together with them, and share your practice and support each other. And, we change partners every few months or something. We do that in my Sangha with the teachers and teacher trainees. And I find it very useful. And I'm available for consultation as well. Like, if you want to talk, that's no problem. I wonder if anyone here has any, like, how would you want to be supported, or what do you, maybe just share about how, what you see as being the challenges, or what could help you to continue to practice, if you'd like to continue to practice this stuff.
Laurie,
Mm-hmm.
One question is kind of bears on the point of, how to support each other going forward. So my question is, have we been your guinea pigs, or have you taught this course before? Did you
I have not taught this course before, so yeah, you're my guinea pigs.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, of course, what I'm trying to say, I mean, if you have other classes, then it will still be part of the same group. I mean, if you have taught that you have another 15 or 30
No,
students,
no. I mean, I'm planning to teach it again in August or September.
then it will be not just us 15, it will be another 15, then it will be 30. Yeah, that's what
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know if we'll have 15 again, or and if yeah. So and actually, I would really, because it is the first time teaching it, I would really appreciate filling out the feedback form, just so I can, because I ask like what parts of the course you found helpful and not so helpful, and time allocation, and just just really getting an idea of how to improve the course, and what worked and what didn't, and that sort of thing, and suggestions. Yeah. So I mentioned it before, like I've been uh, I love talking about this stuff, not just for the sake of talking, but I mean, I've learned so much from all of you, from our consultations, and it's really and just thinking about how to present this, and hearing, seeing what people have, how people have interpreted what I've said, or what's worked, what hasn't. So it's like my practice has grown tremendously through this course. So I really want to thank everyone for that, and for your amazing participation. Um, so
Lori, I think I saw some hands up.
did someone want to speak?
Maybe not.
Hey, Laurie.
Okay.
I think it was myself and Kim, we were clapping the clapping
Okay.
hand. Yeah, but just while I'm on now, I would say that like definitely really embrace some form of community after this course to keep in touch, whether that's email or WhatsApp, and certainly an element of Sangha as well, going forward, community would be wonderful.
Yeah. So when you do the feedback form, maybe I don't think there's a question on like particularly on ideas for how to support you, but I mean there's a comment section. So I mean, if you like WhatsApp, I don't know, if you say you want to be part of the community, that's like, there's a question there that says like, do you want to be part of this community? Yes, no. And that just means like that I can share your email with people, and that like I would include you in setting up the, in asking like, how are we going to, setting up a forum, or setting up, partnering people, and, and I would ask if you want to be part of this particular thing or that particular thing. It's not just a blanket thing, right? It's whatever works for you. I just know that 5 weeks is a short period of time, and if you really want to continue with this, I think it's so much easier if there's some support. So maybe we could close with just sharing, have each of you share like 1 or 2 words, just that highlighted like your experience of the teachings and our time together. I was thinking for myself, the word that came to my mind was actually enlightenment. Obviously not the big enlightenment, but like it's been very enlightening for me, and just togetherness. I mean, I just felt very connected to folks. So just, you can just popcorn out there if you want. Just 1 or 2 words. Yeah. And just chime right in. Yeah.
Connection.
Sorry. Maybe I'll call folks out. So Jeff.
Connection.
Connection, yeah. And Bev?
Glimpses of awareness, and thank you for your generosity.
Yeah. And Kim?
Connectedness and motivation.
Yeah. Thank you. Pip?
I would say divine support, and thank you very much for your generosity as well, Laurie, and everyone as well. And your efforts, Laurie, have been really great in this course. Feel very, very taken care of and supported.
Thank you. Jyoti?
For me, it's I can handle this, and again, just thank you so much, like for all the time that you've put into it, so much planning and thought, and it was just an amazing course, and so grateful to have met everyone as well.
Thanks. Tanya?
Gratitude to you, to community, and for the teaching, and commitment to choose and to make the intent to choose happy and let go.
Thanks, Tanya. Shuyan?
I mean, before the, I guess 6 weeks ago, I mean, you are the only person I know. So my thought would be, thank you, Laurie. I mean, not just for all your effort, those are very obvious, and dedication and so on, but I want to thank you for issuing the call. And then I and others answer the call, and because of that, one of the benefits is I make the connections to these other fellow, travelers, fellow human beings, fellow practitioners who answer your call and then participate in the past 6 weeks. So I'm grateful for that, and thank you.
Thanks, Shuyan. Andre?
I'm so glad I ended up in this course. It was kind of random. Yeah, it's I feel very encouraged and without any pressure. I loved your meditations. I love how there's an aspect of like no pressure, and yeah, I'm really grateful for the course, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Jen?
I've had a hard time coming up with just a few, so to keep it relatively short, I would say the phrases that have really stuck with me and I'll keep with me are, is this worth closing my heart over? Or variations thereof. And really, I shared this with you before, Laurie, but just the continual reminding myself that I am not my thoughts. Those are separate from me.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Gary?
Yeah, I think community and connection. It's been an amazing group, and people taking risks and sharing honestly has been really fantastic. And I think everyone coming from a similar point and looking for similar things to change or to address our issues. So that's been wonderful. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the honesty of the group. And I can't remember the word you used, Laurie, when you're having the talk with your Dharma teacher. But I love that sense of whether it was irreverence and your honesty and your willingness to get down and dirty and share honestly, rather than being up in a cloud and looking down upon everyone and saying, I'm the teacher and you have to learn from me. I just really appreciate your realness. And I think that made a huge impact on my life. And so thank you. And I'm really looking forward to the community with great trepidation. I'll have to get out of my intro. It's funny, I can only think of the Japanese word because I was in Japan for a while, hikikomori, which social isolate. So I'll have to take a risk and jump into the community. So thank you very much. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Gary. Brian?
I'm just getting past my mind that wants to tromp on the few words that I want to say. So I'm past it now, and we're all exploring change together. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Brian. And Janet?
As others have said, I'm very grateful to you and to everybody here. It has been an awesome experience because it has been so eye-opening for me. To see things now that I did not see 6 weeks ago, and I look forward to continuing this work. So, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and Julia?
It's no problem. My absolute favorite, and the other word that came was friendship. And yeah, I echo everything that has been said. I'm just very grateful to you, Lori. It's so obvious how much you care, and also how skilled you are at guiding us. And it's been wonderful meeting everybody. And I look forward to continuing. Thanks everybody for all that you all brought to this as well.
Okay, so that's a wrap. Thank you, everyone. I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. But I look forward to. Pardon?
Did I miss her?
Oh, Jody shared.
Oh.
Right? I didn't miss you, did I? No. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Well,
I had one question.
Yeah.
Just really quickly, the material up on your drive, will that be available for a little while so we can go and dip in and pull down some of the meditations?
Yeah. And so you can download whatever you want. If you want, I've got all the sessions recorded, so if you want to see any of the sessions, just let me know. And I'll send you a link to the feedback form, and feel free to be in touch. And to download whatever you want from the resources. Yep. It's the world is your oyster. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Thanks so much, Barry.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. See you soon.
Take care.